and welcome to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. And in this episode, we will be reviewing number 71 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the top 100 love stories of all time.
All right, and number 71 is Way Down East, directed by D.W. Griffith, starring Lillian Gish and Richard Barthelmess.
So, the synopsis for this silent movie are as follows. Poor country girl Anna, played by Lillian Gish, visits her rich relatives and is seduced and tricked into a fake marriage by Lennox Sanderson, played by Lowell Sherman. She becomes pregnant and he leaves her. She has the baby, trusts Lennox, on her own. When the baby dies, she wanders until she gets a job with Squire Bartlett. David, the squire's son, played by Richard Barthelmess, falls for her, but she rejects him because of her past. Lennox shows up lusting after another local girl, Kate. Seeing Anna, he tries to get her to leave so she doesn't ruin his pursuit. She refuses but promises not to divulge their past. Eventually, the squire learns of Anna's past from town gossip Martha. In his anger, he kicks Anna out into a snowstorm. Before she goes, she explains her life and that Lennox is her despoiler and the father of her dead son. She becomes lost in the raging storm, ultimately saved from going over the icy falls by David. She and David get married.
Okay, and sorry I didn't say this before, but it was released in 1920.
Yep, this is on this particular list that we're reviewing, the 100 Passions list. This is the oldest film on the list.
Oldest film, and it's a silent movie. I thought it was good, to be honest.
I enjoyed it. It was it's not something I had seen before. It looked like, based on the notes and when they did some of the composition, it looks like they restored this in 2008. So it was after my video store days, obviously. Interesting restoration. There are shots of this movie that are completely missing. They put in little spots with words that basically tell you what the scene was, and a few they have like some still shots that someone shot on the scene of the film that they dropped in there. There was probably like maybe 4 or 5 of those little spots where they obviously this movie's 102 years old, so it was shot on film. Hollywood has notoriously been bad about preserving their history, so there probably just wasn't a real good copy of this film. They probably, from the looks of it, they used at least probably 6 different film copies to put together the best possible version of this that they could. Yep. You get a lot of real contrasting color changes in this one. Even in like the same scene, it'll go from like really green to really purple, which, I mean, you get what you get. I mean, the fact that this film still exists is pretty remarkable.
You kind of have to like look past it a little bit and really focus on the story that it's trying to tell and the actors. And I just felt like it was an interesting story. It was very of its time, I think. The actors were very good. They all, like Brad had pointed out when we were watching it, they all have this look, this like 1920s look.
Yeah, the costumes were
beautiful.
I mean, I was telling her, I was like, I totally get why people do these like flapper parties and stuff, because the clothes from that era are just so. They're
really cool. Yeah. One thing that I was very impressed by was the action sequence at the end of the movie on the basically, what's her name, the main character? Anna runs away. She's in the dark. There's a blizzard. She ends up on these sheets of ice going towards a waterfall, and they actually shot this on the Hudson River, and they were the depth of the water was only like a foot, so it wasn't like deep water. It does look that way.
And you can tell it's not ice. Like he's like jumping on like pieces of wood or something.
Some of it was ice.
Yeah, but I mean, you towards the end, you can really spot it.
But honestly, for its time,
Oh, yeah.
like, it was really well done. I did read that Lillian Gish was in the water. Her hand, she's kind of laying there like this with her hand in the water, and that she had lifelong effects from having her hand cold for that long.
Yeah, nerve damage.
Nerve damage from that. So yeah, it was. I really enjoyed the movie. It was very interesting. It kept my interest the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one, honestly, if it wasn't on the list, I probably would not have explored it simply because of who the filmmaker is.
Yeah.
So the filmmaker here, Griffith, he made a little film called Birth of a Nation, if you've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Kind of, glorifies the Ku Klux Klan, and is kind of, it's semi-responsible for a little bit of their resurgence in the early part of this century, and now they kind of wax and wane, and they've kind of been replaced by other hate groups.
Yeah.
But it's just he's just one of those filmmakers that he's got an incredible talent, but what he kind of chose to put across on film.
He is they said that in 1910 he is the first director to quote the phrase "lights, camera, action."
Really?
Yeah, so he's credited with that. But anyway, good movie, very interesting, a little long.
Yeah, we watched it on Tubi, so it has commercials, and it was listed as 2.5 hours. And without the 5 scenes and factoring in the 4 or 5 commercial breaks, it's probably about 2.5 hours. It was quite long. I had never seen. I never thought of a kind of epic, silent film, but this is kind of an epic silent film. But it kind of it moved along pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
But it did feel like when they got towards the end, they really sped things up.
Yeah.
So they kind of, they probably could have cut some fat in the middle and spent some more time in the final act a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. If I was to compare it to The Sheik, the other silent movie that we watched earlier, I feel like this was a much better done film. But, The Sheik did have, like, some pretty epic shots.
I think the cinematography in The Sheik was better.
Yes.
I think the camera work in that movie is better as well. I think this is just a better story. I think it's a more cohesive story.
For sure.
It's this story was really with a silent movie, there are a few spots where they put things on the screen for you to read, but for the most part, it's all interpreted.
Yeah.
Right. You're you see them talking, but you don't know exactly what they're saying.
But you can kind of tell what they're saying.
It's kind of up to you to read the body language and, what's going on, what's happened before and what's happened after. So I think the actors in this movie did a really, really good job of expressing what it was that's happening in the scenes.
Yes.
It was to me, it was easier to follow than The Sheik. There was a couple spots in The Sheik where I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, this one was pretty easy to follow. Yeah. So, and also it had a pretty simple storyline. I mean, even your synopsis is a lot shorter than most. Yeah. So it was pretty easy. Yeah,
there wasn't a whole lot to it. She's poor. Her mom sends her to their rich relatives, to try to get some help. And she kind of gets swept up into a society party, and she meets this guy, and promises of the world kind of thing. Even goes so far as to put together this sham marriage so he can get her into bed.
So terrible.
Such awful. She gets pregnant, and now she's a single mother, which back then was just like one of the worst things you could do in society. Like,
it made you basically taboo, really.
And then the baby dies, and then she's just a lost human being at that point, and just kind of looking to survive. She finds a job, and she really fits in with this family who, and they know nothing about her, which is exactly what she wants. She just wants a fresh start. It's clear that she has feelings for David, the squire's son. David clearly has feelings for her, but she doesn't feel at all worthy of him because of what's happened to her, so she keeps away.
She doesn't want to drag him down with her,
right?
Basically.
And which all kinds of comes to a head. And to his credit, he's thrown off by it a little bit, but he also goes out into the snowstorm and saves her and brings her back, and ultimately marries her. So,
all right, well, how did we score it?
I gave it a 66. You gave it a 53. So the list score is 59.5.
All right. Well, if you get a chance, if you could please comment or like our video on our YouTube channel. And if you would like to discuss anything with us offline, you can send us an email at ratingthelist at gmail.com.
All right. Until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Jerry, and we're rating the list.
Right. Bye.
Bye.